All right, today we're jumping into a fascinating comparison between two totally different tax systems. We've got Vietnam, a super dynamic, modernizing economy on one side, and on the other, Germany, a mature welfare state. We're going to break down the numbers, the philosophies behind them, and most importantly, the practical stuff you can actually use.
So, let me ask you this. What would you do if your yearly tax bill suddenly dropped by 96%? I know, it sounds completely made up, right? But for a whole lot of families in Vietnam, this is about to be their new reality. It's all because of a massive tax overhaul that's shaking things up big time.
So yeah, let's kick things off with Vietnam's huge tax shakeup. The country is in the middle of rolling out one of the biggest tax reforms it's ever done. The main goal? To modernize the whole system and, ease some of that financial pressure on its growing middle class.
Okay, so the heart of this reform is all about two things: making things simpler and giving people a break. Vietnam is cutting down its tax structure from a kind of clunky 7 brackets to a much cleaner 5. But the real headline here is the massive tax cut for middle-income folks. The 15% rate dropping to 10. The 25% rate slashed to 20. That's a direct financial boost for millions of people.
And while they are really doubling down on families here, we're talking about a massive 41% increase in deductions for you and your dependents. A taxpayer's deduction is going to jump to 15.5 million Vietnamese dong a month, and for each dependent, it's going up to 6.2 million. For so many households, this is an absolute game changer.
It's not just about individuals either. This is a huge leg up for the real backbone of Vietnam's economy. It's 3.3 million small household businesses. The amount of money you can make before paying any tax at all is doubling to 200 million dong a year. That's a serious move to help out the country's micro-entrepreneurs.
Okay, let's switch gears completely and head over to Germany. Now, unlike Vietnam's system, this isn't about some radical new change. Germany's model is mature, it's complex, and it's built on this really deep-rooted idea of social fairness and the welfare state.
So, to understand German taxes, you really have to get this one core idea. And it's so important it's literally written into their constitution. It's the ability to pay principle. The concept is simple, but really profound. If you have more, you should contribute a proportionately larger slice to help society. It's all about social equity. And the way Germany actually does this is pretty clever. Instead of having these harsh, sudden tax brackets, they use a smooth, progressive curve. The rates just gradually climb from 14% up to 42%. This is specifically designed to avoid what they call bracket creep. You know that awful feeling when a tiny pay raise accidentally pushes you into a way higher tax bracket?
This next one is fascinating. It's like a piece of history is literally baked into the tax code. It's called the SOLI, or the Solidarity Surcharge. It's an extra 5.5% tax that was first created to help pay for the insane costs of reunifying Germany. But today, 90% of people don't even pay it. It's almost exclusively paid by the highest earners, kind of as a symbol of national solidarity.
All right, we've talked philosophy. Now let's get down to the brass tacks, the numbers. This is where you can really see how different the priorities of each country are.
So first up, a really basic question. How much do you get to make before you even start paying taxes? Well, in Germany, that tax-free amount is pretty high. For a single person, over 12,000 euros. Vietnam's is lower, but with these new reforms, that gap is closing fast, especially for families. A Vietnamese person with 2 kids will soon be able to earn almost as much tax-free as a single person in Germany. It just goes to show you that strong family focus.
Now this graph is super interesting. It shows you just how fast the tax rates kick in. See the blue line for Vietnam? It's a much steeper climb at those lower income levels. In contrast, Germany's red line is way more gradual, which makes sense with a higher cost of living, before it eventually tops out at a higher rate. It's the perfect picture of two different economic realities.
Okay, theory is one thing, but let's make this real. Imagine someone in Vietnam earning 25 million dong a month with 1 kid. Under the old rules, they were paying almost $1 million dong in tax every single month. Under the new rules coming in 2026, their tax bill plummets to just 35,000 dong. That is a jaw-dropping 96% reduction. That's about 12 million dong a year back in their pocket.
You know, tax codes are never just about math. They're a mirror, really, reflecting what a society truly values. And this brings us to the deeper, cultural stuff shaping these policies. And it asks a pretty fundamental question. Is the most important social unit the family or the state?
And right here, you can see the two paths diverge. Vietnam's tax system is explicitly designed to financially support the traditional multi-generational family unit. Germany, on the other hand, is built to fund a powerful state-run social safety net. It's a fundamental choice between empowering the family or empowering the state. And this isn't just some high-level theory. Check out this one statistic, it says it all. In Vietnam, over 85% of elderly people get financial help from their children. Filial piety, that duty to care for your parents, is a cornerstone of the culture, and the tax code directly rewards it by giving generous deductions for taking care of elders.
So, what are Germans getting for those higher taxes? Well, they're buying into this incredibly comprehensive social safety net. It funds things like universal health care, a state pension system, really generous unemployment benefits, long-term care insurance, and social support they call the citizen's income. You pay into the system, and in return, the state provides for you from cradle to grave.
Okay, this has all been super interesting, but I know what you're thinking. What can I actually do about it? So, in our last section, we're getting super practical. This is your tax-saving playbook, with strategies you can actually use for both Vietnam and Germany.
This chart gives you a bird's-eye view of where the biggest wins are. You can see the massive savings potential in Germany with things like childcare and private pensions, which can literally save you thousands of euros. In Vietnam, it's all about maximizing those family deductions and being smart with your business. So, let's break down the top 5 for each country.
All right, for anyone in Vietnam, listen up. Here are your top 5 strategies. Number 1. Register every single dependent you can, kids, parents, even a spouse who doesn't work. 2. If you have a business, go cashless. New rules are demanding bank transfers. 3. Freelancers. Look into that proposed 5% flat tax for digital services. 4. Start hoarding receipts for medical and education expenses for new deductions. And 5. If you run a small business, try to keep that revenue under the $200 million mark to stay completely tax-free.
Now for Germany. The system is a bit more of a puzzle, but that just means the rewards for solving it are even bigger. First, if you're married, make sure you choose the right tax class combination. It can make a huge difference. Second, if you're a high earner, look into a Rura pension plan for a massive tax refund. Third, track every single work-related expense, they call it Werbungskosten, from your commute to your coffee. Fourth, deduct your home office. And fifth, a big one for parents, claim deductions for childcare and private school fees.
So after all this, what's the big takeaway?
Well, it doesn't matter if you're in a simple, growing system or a complex, established one. Knowledge is absolutely power. Just understanding the rules of the game is the first and honestly the most important step to making that system work for you, not against you.
Because in the end, a tax system isn't just about collecting money, is it? It's a mirror held up to a nation's history, its priorities, its values. So we'll leave you with this question to think about. If a tax system tells the story of a country's soul, what story does yours tell?